Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and for today's video, I'm going to be talking about why the 50-30-20 budgeting rule doesn't work for most people and what you should do instead. If you've never heard of the 50-30-20 budgeting rule, let me quickly explain how this breaks down. So 50% of your take-home pay, about 50%, is dedicated to needs, so necessities for you to live your life. 30% is dedicated to wants, and then the final 20% is dedicated to saving, investing, and extra debt payments. Now, in my opinion, this is a rule that most people should not follow for a number of reasons. It's also a rule that does not work for most people, which I will show you real-life examples of exactly why I'm saying that. But as somebody in the finance space who watches and reads a lot of content on finance, I see this come up pretty frequently, and I'm very surprised by that. At this point, it's like the BMI of finance. I'm going to show y'all 3 real-life examples of people that this 50-30-20 budgeting rule would not benefit whatsoever because it's just impossible for their situation. So these numbers come from real people. If y'all remember, several months ago, I was doing subscriber financial reviews where people would send me their budget, their spending, their financial situation, and I would come up with a plan for them of how to pay down debt, what next steps they should take, that sort of thing. I can link that series in my description box. But I still have these numbers. I still have the spreadsheets that I put together. I'm still going to keep everything anonymous, but these were the numbers from these people at the time that they shared this information with me. And when I was preparing for this video, I wanted to put these charts together, and it was very easy for me to find very quickly that this wouldn't work for most people because I was just able to click through the spreadsheets that I have. The first 3 that I opened, this wouldn't apply to, and that's these 3 that I'm about to show y'all. Here's the first example. So this individual has a net income, I believe it is a husband and wife. They have a monthly take-home pay of $5,642. And I broke down the numbers that they gave me that they are spending on about a monthly basis into needs, wants, and save/invest. And you can see that the needs are pretty high. So this includes the mortgage, utilities, car/home insurance, the phone, the car loan, any other debts, daycare, groceries. I even took out $200 from this groceries/food out number so that the 200 is counted as a want for food out. And then yes, their student loan, they would have to pay that, right? So that's a huge chunk right there. And you can see the breakdown. 79.3%, almost 80% of their take-home pay is having to go to needs. Wants, 11.8%. So for them, this includes food out, HBO, other streaming services, her spend, his spend. That's it. And then savings, all they have on here is $500, so that's a small 8.9%. Next up, we have an example from an individual taking home $4,800, and they have a lot of debt. So debt counts as a need because you need to be making those minimum payments, right? So for this example, nothing is being saved or invested because there's no room for it. 91.6%, almost 92% of their take-home pay is going to needs because they have so much debt. And then a small amount, 8.4%, is going to wants, and I put this as like Apple storage, Netflix, Kindle, miscellaneous, as well as food and health. I counted their health expenses, which could be necessities, as a want here, okay? So nothing is being saved and invested in this situation. And then for this third and final situation, this individual is taking home $4,944. They also have a lot of debt, so a large chunk being dedicated to needs. That's looking like 90.2% of their take-home pay. Their wants, there's not too much here. All I put under wants was subscriptions and food out. And then saving and investing, barely anything, 6.8%, $300 of their take-home pay. And you might look at those 3 examples and be like, well, they didn't make responsible choices. They shouldn't have that much debt. They should have done this, this, and that. But these situations and these numbers, the breakdown of the spending, is how a lot of people are living, especially here in the US. And I want to pull in some statistics here just because I think that would be helpful too. The first one I want to start with is the median income. This is a little bit tricky to find because I just don't know how legitimate this is. But according to USA Today, the national average income in the US in Q4 of 2023 was about $59,000. So from my understanding, that is for individual earning. The average family household income was about $74,700 in 2022. Now, I prefer to look at median numbers when it comes to statistics, so I found that the median income across the country for individuals was about $44,200. We also have some stats on debt, and this is from Q3 of 2023. Altogether, the total debt, the average total debt per household is $104,215, and this includes mortgage, auto loans, credit cards, student loans, and even HELOCs. But they broke it down a little bit further. So the average mortgage debt is $244,000, HELOCs, $42,000, auto loans, almost $24,000, credit cards, $6,500, and student loans, almost $39,000 per person. That's a lot of debt. So you can see that this 50-30-20 budgeting rule does not take into account the cost of living. So if you live in one state versus another, it's not taking that into consideration. It does not take into consideration income. If you are making, $30,000 a year versus somebody making $100,000 per year, the 50-30-20 split is going to look vastly different, but the person making a low income may be paying the same in rent and utilities as the person making $100,000. It also doesn't consider people with a high debt burden. With those examples I just showed y'all, if you have a lot of debt, it's going to be difficult to put anything towards saving, investing, and even toward your wants. And yes, like I was saying before, debt can be prevented. You do somewhat have control over that, but life happens. And as somebody who had debt, who experienced quite a bit of debt as well, life just happens. There are things that come up. We pay for things. Sometimes we make poor choices even, but those are things that we are dealt and we have to handle. And then finally, it doesn't even consider financial goals, individual financial goals. It is just too black and white, in my opinion, and not personal enough. So of course, I want to present to y'all how to handle this instead. There are some people who are natural savers. They're natural savers and they have a pretty decent income, so they either don't need to budget or they just don't want to. I'm going to use my boyfriend as an example here. So he's in a situation where he makes a pretty decent income. He doesn't have any debt because he paid it off. He did have a little bit of debt. He has a solid amount being invested into his 401k and into his Roth IRA. He's not a high spender, so he will buy things here and there, but it's nothing crazy and over the top. And then outside of that, he's just saving his money. So he doesn't budget whatsoever. And, I may not love that. That's not my style of doing things, but he's in an okay financial situation where he can do that and get away with it. So there's nothing that needs to be done on his part. Another approach is making sure that your needs are in order. So you are able to pay for everything that you need to. Ideally for this situation, you would not have any debt, so it may take some time to get to this point, but everything that you need to pay for is taken care of. You have a set amount that you are saving and investing on a monthly basis. Ideally, this would be a pretty high amount, but this is obviously a personal decision. And then the rest of the money that you earn, you can just do whatever you want with it. If you want to spend that money, go ahead. If you want to travel, if you want to put it towards savings, whatever the case may be. This is a method that some people are able to do because they have built their financial situation to be this way. And maybe they're budgeting a little bit, but they're not paying too close of attention to where they're spending their money because they just have the needs, the saving and investing, and everything else. They just do whatever they want with it. But the third approach, and what I recommend for most people, and this is what I do with all of my clients, and this is even what I do for myself, is assess your actual expenses and use those numbers to make a budget, a new budget, every single month. So what does that look like? You first need to determine how you want to set up your budget. Do you want to be in Google Spreadsheets? Do you want to be in Excel? Do you want to use pen and paper? Maybe there's an app that you prefer to use. Then you're going to start by filling in or writing down your fixed expenses, or your living expenses, anything that is necessary for you to get by on a day-to-day basis. In this section, I would also include the debts that you have to pay, the minimum payments on your debts. And then you are going to fill in or write down your variable expenses. So this is anything that could differ from month to month. This could be groceries, gas, maybe you have some medical expenses in one month, but in another month you don't. So list all of those things out. And then you're going to list your wants or anything that is unnecessary for you to be spending money on. So this could be personal spending, food out, fun and entertainment, that sort of thing. And then finally, you're going to put any of your savings and investing goals. So if you want to put money toward an emergency fund or various sinking funds, if you want to put money toward a Roth IRA, go ahead and list those out too. And as you're doing that, make sure you're thinking of the month that is coming up. So if you've never budgeted before, or if you're new to budgeting, make sure you consider the month coming up. So if you're watching this video in May and you are going to be making a budget for June, think about June coming up specifically. Is there anything that is coming up that you need to make room for in your spending, and make sure that is on your budget as well. And then once you have everything listed out, add all of those numbers up, get your total, and subtract that from your expected income for the month that you're budgeting for. If you're in the positive or you have money left over, then you're probably okay. And any extra money you can put toward saving, put toward investing, put toward extra debt payments, whatever it is that you want to put it toward. But a lot of people end up being in the negative. So your income is not going to cover all of those expenses that you just listed. And at this point, you need to determine what it is that needs to be cut and what you want to prioritize. So any of those items in your budget that are unnecessary should probably be cut first. If you take those out and you still are in the negative, you're gonna have to cut some from saving and investing, unfortunately. And if you're still in the negative, it's just gonna take some time to get out of that. You're gonna have to increase your income. You're gonna have to sell some things around the house, just dig out of that hole slowly but surely. But the most important thing is that you're tracking your spending. So you set up this budget, it comes to the month that you are budgeting for. You need to track your spending and see how things are looking. And then you need to make a budget every single month. And then you will get to a point where your debts are paid off, you have a decent amount saved, you're on track for investing, retirement, all these things, and you are just in much better financial shape than you were before. And this was all because you created a personal budget. And at that point, once you get to a point of financial freedom or where you feel more comfortable with your money, you maybe could go to the 50-30-20 rule, or you could try one of those other budgeting approaches that I mentioned. Now, I am going to plug in two things here because they are very relevant to this video. The first thing being my one-on-one sessions. So if you need help with budgeting, coming up with a plan, anything to do with your finances, I can help you to do that. I always have it linked down below. You can check out my packages and we can start working together one-on-one. Second thing would be my debt-free blueprint course. This is really helpful for people who are either new to budgeting, and if everything that I explained just now is kind of overwhelming and you still don't know where to start, this is going to walk you through that and then some. If you have debt, this is also going to help you because it's going to help you determine how to fit this into your budget, how to pay off your debt faster, how to choose a debt payoff plan, etc. That is also linked down below, and I am confident that that will help you to get on the right path and build a strong financial future if you learn about those things and apply those things that I teach. Let me know if y'all have any questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.